2 p.m. Truly one of the hours of the day. If you're at school, you've just started that last class, restless to go home already. If you work, you've come back from your lunch break long enough ago that you're no longer refreshed, yet recently enough that you haven't yet gotten back into the zone of whatever your job is. Most people are not big fans of 2 p.m. But what if it was 2 p.m. permanently? The Earth is, allegedly, round. It also most likely spins, and whether or not it is facing the sun at a given moment is largely believed to be the source of daylight. As such, the world standard for time is based around this rotation. More or less, if the place you are at is in some point in the Earth's rotation cycle, that tells you what time it is. If the sun is directly overhead, it's around noon. Furthermore, what time it officially is determined by time zones, which are roughly based on the rotation of the Earth. At the time of recording, it is currently 2 p.m. in Malaysia, Singapore, Western Australia, and a few other places. So, what if you were to move quickly enough that you could be in a time zone where it is 2 p.m., and just before it hits 3, you leave that time zone into another where it has just become 2 p.m. once again? In theory, you could do this by foot if you were standing at the North or South Pole, but that's boring, so we'll do it around the equator, by plane. The fastest plane ever made is the Concorde, being able to reach a maximum speed of 2,179 km per hour, or Mach 2.04. Although slower speeds could still make the journey, I will be using this plane for my calculations. The circumference of the Earth at the equator is around 40,000 kilometers. We divide this into 24 hourly slices, and we need to be moving at around 1,700 kilometers per hour. Concorde demolishes this speed, but we're not done yet. See, planes need fuel, especially the Concorde, which during takeoff uses over 35 liters of fuel a second. Once in the air and up to speed, it doesn't need this much, of course, using around 25,000 liters an hour, but given it can only carry 119,000 liters total, this means it can fly for only about 4 hours 40 minutes before it runs out of fuel and falls out of the sky. We'll round this down to 4 hours to account for any issues, meaning the 2 p.m. plane can fly 8,716 kilometers before needing to refuel. We want this to be as fast as possible, so we can't afford to touch down to refuel on the ground. Instead, we will be refueling in mid-air. As far as I can tell, this has never been done with a Concorde. Mid-air refueling has only ever been used for military purposes, but I believe it is theoretically possible. Our plane would need to slow down to 1,111 kilometers an hour for the 15 minutes it takes to refuel to match the speed of the fastest tanker aircraft, the Lockheed TriStar. Incidentally, there are only 6 of these tankers in the world, exactly enough for 1 every 4 hours in our 24-hour loop. I'm not sure how much fuel it would take to get back past the sound barrier, but for the purpose of this video I will just pretend it's the same as regular flying. And anyways, we have that 40-minute window of fuel, which can make up for that. Since the Concorde's maximum speed is well past the amount we need, it can easily catch up the distance it lost while refueling at a lower speed. The next issue is runways. We need places to launch our refuel planes from and then land again. Along most of the equator, there's nothing beyond our 8,700 kilometer fueling distance, but we run into an issue with the Pacific Ocean, namely, it is big and it is empty. There's nothing near the equator from Nauru to the Galapagos, so we have 2 options. We can either dip down to French Polynesia, which is doable with our speed, but does stray quite a bit from the path, or we could put a TriStar on an aircraft carrier in the middle of the Pacific. The main problem is that I'm not sure a TriStar can actually stop on an aircraft carrier, both in terms of its size and the length of the aircraft carrier's runway. I wasn't able to find any information on how long the TriStar takes to stop. For safety, I'm going to go with the French Polynesia route. Therefore, our 6 refueling points are as follows: Bora Bora Airport in French Polynesia, Seymour Airport in the Galapagos, Ecuador, Valdecarna International Airport in Belém, Brazil, Butazega Airport in Buta in the Democratic Republic of Congo, Kuala Namu International Airport in Medan, Malaysia, Nauru International Airport in Nauru. If we flew a Concorde between these places, slowing down at each for mid-air refueling, I believe we could have a plane on which it is permanently 2 p.m.
This is a COVID-19 announcement.